I'm sorry for calling you at such a time.
That's okay, but what's going on?
Actually, the doctor said he needs to talk to you alone.
Doctor, what is it?
It's about your father. It might involve your family.
What? I was visiting my father, who was hospitalized due to diabetes, along with my mother and brother's family. However, I was the only one called by the doctor. As I listened to the doctor, I trembled with shock at the overwhelming information he shared.
If you have any evidence to support what I'm telling you, I recommend contacting the police. If necessary, I will also testify.
I'll help too. Do you have any evidence?
Evidence? I can't think of anything.
Then try to find something.
Easier said than done. Unable to think of any way to handle what the doctor had told me, I slowly returned to my father's hospital room. Dad. Actually, just now.
If that's the case.
After I confided in my father about what the doctor had said, we found a solution. I couldn't forgive my family. To save my father from the rest of the family, I rushed to the police. I am 32 years old, working part-time, and I married my husband John 4 years ago. Due to his job, we've been living on the West Coast for about 3 years now. My parents live in the Midwest, so I only get to see them during the summer holidays and Christmas. The distance isn't the only reason I can't visit home often. Until now, my son Alex was very young. But now that Alex is 3 years old and attending preschool, it's becoming easier to plan trips back home. What did you do at preschool today?
I ran races with my friends.
With Alex growing up a bit, it looks like I'll be able to visit my parents more frequently. Maybe I'll go home for Easter this year. One day, while I was thinking about these plans, I got a call from my mom, Kelly. Hello? What's up?
Well, I just wanted to let you know that your dad is planning to retire.
Dad is only 63, right? Isn't it a bit early for retirement? Did he get injured in an accident or something?
No, it's not that. You know he's had diabetes for a while now. Lately, his symptoms have gotten a bit worse. His hands and feet are tingling, and his vision is blurry. Since his job is physically demanding, he decided to retire early to avoid any accidents that could cause trouble for others.
Is Dad okay?
His symptoms have worsened a bit, but they're not affecting his daily life too much. Don't worry.
The hospital said that as long as he continues his treatment, he can keep working, right?
Yes, but you know your dad. He doesn't want to cause any inconvenience to anyone. So, I think he decided to retire early.
That sounds like Dad. Even if he retires, it won't cause any issues with living expenses, right?
I'm still working part-time, and Tony and Maria are living with us, so we'll be fine.
Tony is my brother, and Maria is his wife. Since my brother and his wife live with my parents, I don't have to worry about my parents' well-being even if my dad stops working. However, the fact that his diabetes has worsened to the point where he decided to retire makes me concerned. I decided to visit home to check on him. The weekend after my mother called, I left Alex with John and headed to my parents' house. I'm home.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. It's been since Christmas, hasn't it?
You're here to check on your father, right? I told you not to worry so much. You're such a worrywart.
When I arrived home, my mom, my brother and his wife greeted me at the entrance. Where's Dad?
He's resting in his room because of his legs. Go ahead and say hi.
I placed my luggage by the door and quickly walked to my father's room. Dad, I'm home.
Oh, welcome back. You came to check on me, right? As you can see, I'm fine.
Dad, sitting in a floor chair, flexed his biceps. His muscular arms, built from years of labor, didn't look like they belonged to someone over 60. His expression was cheerful, just as Mom had said, making me feel I had worried too much. But then,
Here we go.
you seem to have a hard time standing up.
Just a little when I get up. But I'm fine walking.
He headed to the bathroom, and I watched him walk. Though he claimed it was only hard to stand, his gait was awkward. He also seemed to struggle to grip things with his hands.
Can you hand me the TV remote?
Sure.
Oops. Sorry, my hand slipped. Could you pick that up for me?
Dad, who had worked in a physical job, had always been robust and reliable. Seeing him like this now made me feel a pang of sadness. After chatting with Dad for a while, I went to the living room to talk to my mom and my brother's family. Mom, Dad's condition seems worse than I thought, doesn't it?
The doctor said he's still okay, so you don't need to worry so much. You really are a worrywart. But you're right, Dad's "I'm fine" might not be entirely true. He says he's fine but has trouble walking.
Dad probably doesn't want to worry or burden anyone, so he might not be saying how hard it really is for him.
That could be. But he gets regular checkups at the hospital, so you don't need to worry. If it becomes too much for him, he'll speak up.
Is that really okay?
Oh, by the way, we might run into Carol at the hospital.
Carol? Oh right, she works as a nurse there. Despite my concerns, Mom didn't seem as worried about Dad's health. My brother and his wife also didn't seem particularly worried, judging by their reactions during my conversation with Mom. Dad, how about a walk nearby? It must be stifling to stay inside all the time.
Oh, you'll take me out?
After talking with Mom, I went back to Dad and invited him for a walk. He seemed happy, and I thought it was because he was glad to go out with me after a long time, but it seemed to be more than that.
Your mom and Tony have been telling me not to go out alone because they're worried.
So, does Maria usually take you for walks?
No, everyone's busy with work and other things, so I just walk around the yard.
What? So you're home all day? I felt a surge of anger. Dad, who had always been active due to his job, couldn't stand not moving around. Mom and my brother's family knew this well. Yet, they told him not to go out and didn't even accompany him on walks. After returning home from the walk, I confronted my mom and brother's family. Is it true you don't even take Dad out for walks?
We're busy too, you know. We can't take him out for walks all the time.
You know he gets restless if he doesn't move around.
But he hasn't said anything about wanting to go out.
That's because he doesn't want to be a burden on everyone.
Look, I don't know what you think after taking Dad for a walk today, but it's easy to take him for a walk when you just happen to be visiting. Taking care of Dad involves more than just walks. We have our own struggles too. Or are you saying you'll come here every day to take him out for a walk?
My brother was right. Living far away and not being there daily, I couldn't tell my mom and brother's family how to manage things. Unable to argue back, I had to relent. I stayed at my parents' house for one night and returned home the next day. Thank you for taking care of Alex yesterday.
It's fine. I was off work anyway. How's your dad?
Well, he seemed better than I expected, I guess. For a moment, I debated whether to tell John about Dad being stuck at home all day. But since there was still a lot I didn't know, I decided not to mention it just yet. That night, I remembered my conversation with my mom about Carol, a friend who works at the hospital. I decided to send her a message after a long time. Hey, it's been a while. I heard from my mom that you work at the hospital where my dad goes. I visited home yesterday, and it made me think of you, so I decided to reach out. Carol replied almost immediately.
Long time no see. I've been thinking about messaging you for a while.
Why? Since I replied quickly, our conversation continued in real time.
I've been worried that your mom and the others might be planning something scary.
Did something happen?
They keep asking really frightening questions like, what's the mortality rate for diabetes, and how long does he have left to live? They ask all kinds of other questions too.
That sounds like they're just concerned about Dad.
The words could be taken that way, but it's more about their expressions and the atmosphere when they ask. It feels off, unsettling. I was worried that you might share their intentions, so I hesitated to reach out.
Why did you decide to tell me you found their behavior suspicious?
I guess it was the tone of your first message. It seemed like you didn't know anything. Plus, when I thought about it, I couldn't imagine you being involved in anything shady.
Thanks for trusting me. I also felt something was off with my mom and brother's family. But it's hard to accuse them based on a feeling.
True, but I'll let you know if I find out anything. Keep me posted if you learn anything too.
It seemed I wasn't the only one who found my mom and brother's family's behavior odd. We agreed to keep each other informed about any new developments. However, as ordinary people without the skills of police or detectives, we couldn't conduct any proper investigation. 6 months passed without any significant developments. I had planned to visit home for Easter, but due to my husband's work, I couldn't make the trip. Still, I kept in regular contact with my mom and kept up with my dad's condition. How's Dad doing?
Lately, his condition has been getting worse. It's become very difficult for him to walk, and sometimes we have to support him around the house.
What about his hands or other symptoms?
The numbness in his hands is getting worse too. With all of us working, it's becoming really hard to manage everything at home. We're all talking about reaching our limit. It might actually be better if he developed one of those complications.
Hey! How can you say such a thing? Diabetes has 3 major complications, which are covered by our insurance as specified diseases, allowing us to use long-term care services. That would reduce the burden on my mom and the others. Still, wishing for complications just to ease their burden was terrifying. I could now understand the unsettling atmosphere Carol had mentioned. Sometime later, I received a call from my mom.
Hello, try to stay calm. Your dad might need to have his leg amputated.
What? His leg? It's not uncommon for diabetics to lose a limb. I knew my dad had symptoms in his leg, so I had thought it might happen someday. But to have my fears become reality was shocking. I'm coming home.
It's not definite yet. Besides, you'll be coming home soon for summer vacation, right?
But
you're such a worrywart. He'll be fine.
Is worrying about the possibility of an amputation really just being a worrywart? What does she mean by fine? And why did her voice sound brighter than before when we talked about this? The unease I felt towards my mom was now turning into distrust. As usual, my home visit ended up being during the summer vacation. With so many concerns about my dad's diabetes and the conversation I had with my friend, I decided to leave my child with my husband and go alone this time. I'm home.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. It's been since you last came to check on Dad, hasn't it?
You came to see your dad, right? Do you want to go to the hospital right away or rest for a bit first?
I want to go to the hospital right away. Dad's condition had worsened, and he had been hospitalized recently. As my mom, brother, his wife, and I headed to the hospital to see my dad, I couldn't help but notice that their expressions were bright. Aren't they worried about Dad?
Oh, everyone's here.
Dad. Are you okay?
I'm fine, as you can see.
Dad lay on the bed and flexed his arm muscles. His expression was cheerful, and he seemed more energetic than I had anticipated. However, his arm muscles were noticeably smaller than before. They might need to amputate your leg, right? How's your leg feeling?
It's not that bad. They're exaggerating about cutting off my leg, aren't they? I'll probably be fine. Besides, if they do cut it, I won't have to worry about athlete's feet anymore, so it might not be all bad. Haha.
Everyone laughed at Dad's joke, but I couldn't bring myself to laugh sincerely. Dad probably wasn't entirely serious either. As we continued chatting as a family for a while, a message came to my phone. I casually checked it. It was from Carol. Curious about the message, I discreetly stepped back and checked behind my mom and brother.
Come out secretly from your family. Waiting in the lobby.
The message clearly indicated that Carol had something important to tell me. I'll just quickly use the restroom. I lied and stepped out alone from the hospital room, heading towards the lobby where Carol was waiting. I went to the lobby where Carol was waiting with a man.
Sorry for calling you out like this, especially at a time like this.
It's okay, but what's going on?
Actually, the doctor has something to discuss with you privately.
The man with Carol was the doctor in charge of my father. Doctor, what is it?
It's about your father. There's a possibility that your family, specifically your mother, brother and his wife, might be responsible for worsening your father's condition, his legs.
What? What do you mean?
Oh, I apologize. It was rude of me to jump to culprit with your family. I'm sorry. This is purely speculative, so I wanted to discuss it with you as an extension of our conversation earlier. I believe there might be something your family did that contributed to the deterioration of your father's legs, perhaps intentionally. Normally, doctors shouldn't delve into family matters like this, but after hearing from Carol, I felt it was best to inform you.
But surely. Would my family really do something like that?
If you have any evidence to support what I'm saying, I would recommend contacting the police. If needed, I can testify as well.
I'll help too. Do you have any evidence?
Evidence. I can't think of anything.
Then let's find something. The doctor has noted down reasons and potential evidence suggesting your father's condition was deliberately worsened. I've summarized them in notes. Take these.
Even if you say that. I never imagined something like this would happen all of a sudden. The doctor's revelation shook me to the core. Could it be true that my family had deliberately worsened my father's condition to the point where amputation might be necessary? I was confused and overwhelmed. However, if this was true, I couldn't leave my father in such a situation. Determined, I decided to return to the hospital room.
Oh, you took a while.
Yeah, I got a bit lost finding the restroom.
Should we head back soon?
Yes, we shouldn't overstay. It might strain my father-in-law.
I wanted to stay a bit longer since I came all this way. Dad, is that okay?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay then. I'll grab a quick dinner outside and take a taxi home. Don't worry about me.
All right. Take care of your dad for us.
My mother, brother and his wife left the hospital room, leaving just my father and me. After a few seconds of silence, I decided to tell my father about what the doctor had said. Dad, please listen carefully. The doctor suggested that Mom, Tony and Maria might have intentionally caused your leg condition to worsen.
I had a feeling.
You knew?
Sort of.
Why didn't you say anything?
I'm the one causing trouble.
That's not true at all. We're family, Dad. When someone is in trouble, you rely on and support each other. They're wrong. If Mom and the others aren't supporting you, then I will.
You?
Carol gave me some notes. Let's go over them together. The notes contained various details, but to expose my family's wrongdoing, I needed concrete evidence. Words alone wouldn't convince the police. I felt helpless, like an ordinary person without the skills of a detective or the authority of the police. Something my father had done just before his hospitalization was a potential breakthrough.
Hey, check around the back garden's eaves. I installed a camera there.
A camera? Why?
I always leave my sandals out there, and I kept finding small stones in them, which kept hurting my feet. Plus, the vegetable garden was sometimes tampered with. Could have been crows or weasels or something. I asked a tech-savvy neighbor to install it.
Do my mom and the others know about the camera?
I don't think so. It was my personal expense, so Mom and the others might not even know about it. We set it up when none of us were at work, and if they find anything, they should let me know.
Has the footage been checked?
Nope. I don't really understand machines, so I never checked it. I heard the camera records onto a card, but it's high up, so I couldn't reach it with my bad leg. In the end, it's just sitting there since installation.
Got it. I'll check that camera. I listened to my father's story and immediately returned home.
Welcome back. You're earlier than I thought.
We're about to have dinner now, but did you say you'll eat out? There's nothing prepared for you.
No, it's okay. I'll be going out again soon, so don't worry about me. Please go ahead and have dinner together. I headed to the backyard and walked along, looking under the eaves. There it is. This camera. The camera was facing towards the garden, capturing the area near where the sandals were placed outside and the vegetable garden beyond. I fetched a ladder from the shed, retrieved the SD card from the camera, and checked its contents. I was worried if there would be any footage left since it had been left there untouched, but the camera was motion activated, recording only when something moved within its view. Surprisingly, there was plenty of free space on the card despite being left unattended. The footage showed a badger messing up the vegetable garden. The damage to the garden seemed unrelated to the current issue. However, The footage also captured moments where my mother and the others seemed to be tampering with the sandals. This could serve as evidence. I grabbed the SD card and incidentally took the antifungal medicine my father used, then rushed to the police station without saying a word to my mother and the others. When I explained everything to the police, we first went to the hospital together and then headed to my parents' house. Well, could you wait here for a moment?
Understood.
I asked the police to wait near the entrance, and I entered the house alone. I'm back.
Where were you? We were worried sick.
Yeah, if you were going to be late, you should have at least called.
I didn't get any reply to my texts, so we started worrying that something happened to you.
I'm sorry. I had something to take care of and then went back to the hospital.
Well, I'm just glad you're back safely. Anyway, come inside.
Wait. Since all three of you are here, please listen to me.
What is it?
Anticipating the impending confrontation, I took a deep breath to steady myself. It was you, Mom, and you guys, who caused Dad's feet to deteriorate like that.
What's gotten into you? Why are you saying such nonsense all of a sudden?
Why would we do something like that?
Then, can you look at this? I showed them the screen of my phone. On the screen was a screenshot from the camera footage showing Mom putting pebbles into the sandals. There are also images of Maria and Tony doing the same thing.
There was a camera? I didn't notice it. But what does this prove?
Dad told me about it. There were pebbles in the sandals, causing him frequent injuries. It wasn't just the pebbles. Dad mentioned that his foot was hurt several times by dropping something. And this. I took out Dad's shoes from the shoebox by the entrance. These are clearly smaller than Dad's foot size, right? Also, this antifungal medicine Dad used, is this really antifungal medicine? It has a light minty smell. Did you swap the contents?
What are you trying to say?
Everything I just mentioned goes against proper foot care for diabetes patients, right?
So what? Are you accusing us of deliberately worsening Dad's condition? Stop making baseless accusations.
It's not baseless. Remember when Carol told you about the mortality rate of diabetes patients with amputations within 5 years? And you suddenly asked about foot care methods? Despite knowing the correct way to care for his feet, why did you do the opposite? The doctor also mentioned suspicious injuries increasing on Dad's foot and how his condition was deteriorating.
Looks like you have enough evidence and testimonies. Yes, we wanted your father's foot to get worse quickly,
she said with a laugh. Realizing I was certain they were responsible for my father's deteriorating condition, my mother seemed to become defiant. Seeing her attitude, my brother and his wife also began to act defiant.
We're fine as long as he dies soon and leaves us the money.
Exactly. It's easier for us if we don't have to take care of him.
and if he starts to lose his mind, it'll be even more troublesome. So, if he loses a leg, it might be easier to dump him in a facility, right?
I hadn't thought I could say anything to them because I didn't live with Dad. However, this was too much. I struggled to contain my rising anger. But this was not my job from here on out. You can come in now.
Huh?
Why are the police here?
We've heard everything. We'd like you to come with us for further questioning.
All that conversation earlier was just a joke.
Maria attempted to make excuses, but it was futile. The three of them were taken away by the police. With this, it seemed like I would finally be able to save Dad. Later on, Mom and the others were arrested for assault. However, they were not prosecuted because the causal link between their actions and Dad's deteriorating condition, which hadn't yet resulted in amputation, couldn't be established. For me, though, it wasn't crucial that they were found guilty. The fact remained that they had harmed Dad and were arrested for it. Now, I could smoothly take Dad into my care. Before being taken by the police, Mom had already discussed what would happen to Dad's money after he passed away. Had things not unfolded as they did, and had I simply asked to take care of him, they might have accused me of just wanting to keep Dad's money to myself. These were people who had considered taking Dad's life for money, so things could have spiraled into a messy and tumultuous situation. Fortunately, Dad avoided amputation and decided to live with us after discussing it with my husband. He still thinks he might be a burden if he stays home all the time, so he uses day services. Despite us repeatedly saying it's not a bother, Dad himself insisted on using day services to avoid inconveniencing others. It's his decision, and it's very much like Dad to make it himself, so we let him do as he pleases. Alex seems happy to live with Grandpa, and he's always sticking close to him. Seeing Dad and Alex interacting happily, I truly feel relieved that I was able to rescue them from Mom and the others. How did you find this story? If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to the channel. Until next time.